In the vast expanse of the American Midwest, where people say endless fields meet endless sky, a small Kansas town became the birthplace of agricultural innovation that would reach across continents. This is the story of Hesston, not built by Wall Street investors or corporate strategists, but by a farmer with grease under his fingernails and a vision for better machines. It's a story about solving problems in the dirt, under the relentless sun, where every mechanical failure meant lost time and lost money. This is how one man's simple invention grew into a name that changed farming forever. We're in the 1940s. America was clawing its way back from the Great Depression. The Dust Bowl had scarred the Midwest, leaving behind abandoned homesteads and broken dreams. Farmers who remained were rebuilding, searching desperately for ways to make their operations more efficient, more profitable, more survivable. In Hesston, Kansas, a young farmer named Lyle Yost was doing more than just planting crops. Yost had grown up during the Dust Bowl years, and he'd developed an unusual hobby, or perhaps an obsession. He would visit abandoned homesteads, salvaging old farm equipment left behind by families who couldn't make it. He'd take these broken machines apart, study them, fix them, and in the process, he learned something invaluable. He understood not just how machines worked, but how they failed and why. This wasn't theoretical knowledge learned from textbooks. This was practical wisdom earned in machine sheds and fields, the kind of understanding that only comes from wrestling with stubborn bolts and temperamental engines when the harvest won't wait. In 1947, Yost identified a problem that every grain farmer knew intimately, but had simply accepted as part of the job. When combines harvested grain, unloading that grain from the machine was dangerous, backbreaking work. Farmers relied on gravity, or worse, shovels. Men would climb onto combines, working in cramped spaces, shoveling grain by hand. It was slow, it was exhausting, and it was dangerous. Yost knew there had to be a better way. So he designed one, a simple unloading auger that could mount directly onto a combine. The device used a rotating screw mechanism to move grain efficiently and safely, eliminating the need for manual shoveling. It seems simple now, but in 1947, it was revolutionary. The response was immediate. Fellow farmers saw Yost's auger and recognized its value instantly. Word spread through the community the way good ideas always do in farming country, quickly and with enthusiasm. Yost partnered with a local blacksmith named Adin Holdeman, and together they began producing augers in small batches, working out of a modest building in town. They assembled units as fast as they could and still couldn't keep up with demand. Within a year, the operation had outgrown its humble beginnings. In 1948, Yost and Holdeman made it official, incorporating as Hesston Manufacturing Company. What had started as a farmer fixing a problem had become a business. But more than that, it had become the foundation for something much larger. The success of the unloading auger gave Hesston Manufacturing the capital and confidence it needed to expand. But Lyle Yost wasn't content to rest on one invention. Throughout the 1950s, he turned his attention to another area of farming that desperately needed innovation: hay and forage production. Haymaking in the 1950s was still remarkably labor-intensive. The process had changed little in decades. Farmers were at the mercy of weather, and the physical demands of cutting, drying, and handling hay consumed enormous amounts of time and manual labor. Yost saw opportunity in this inefficiency. The breakthrough came with a machine called the windrower, also known as a swather. The concept had originated with a farmer in Iowa who had designed a machine that could cut hay and lay it neatly into rows, windrows, to dry before baling. When Yost learned about this machine, he immediately recognized its transformative potential. Hesston Manufacturing acquired the design rights, but they didn't simply copy what existed. True to form, they refined it. They improved the cutting mechanism, enhanced reliability, and prepared it for large-scale production. When the Hesston windrower hit the market, it didn't just improve haymaking, it revolutionized it. The machine was faster than traditional methods. It created cleaner, more uniform windrows that dried more evenly. Most importantly, it allowed farmers to work more efficiently when weather windows were tight. And in farming, weather always dictates the schedule. The windrower put Hesston manufacturing on the national map as a serious innovator in hay and forage equipment. Throughout the 1960s, the company's product line exploded. Mowers, conditioners, balers. Hesston developed a comprehensive suite of hay equipment. But the company's philosophy never changed. They didn't build machines to be clever or impressive. They built machines that made sense to the people who used them. Machines that solved real problems that lasted, that could be repaired in a farm shop rather than requiring a factory technician. By the mid-1970s, Hesston Manufacturing had achieved something remarkable. This company that started in a small-town workshop had become the 9th largest farm equipment manufacturer in the United States. They employed thousands of people. Their equipment was being shipped worldwide. And through all that growth, they kept their headquarters and main manufacturing plant exactly where it all began, in Hesston, Kansas. In 1970, Hesston introduced a machine that would become legendary in agricultural circles, the Hesston stackhand. To understand why this machine mattered, you need to understand the challenge it addressed. Hay and corn stover, the plant material left after corn harvest, had traditionally been baled or stacked manually. The process required substantial labor and equally substantial storage space. Bales needed to be handled individually, loaded, transported, stored under cover, and then later retrieved and distributed for feeding livestock. Each step required time, labor, and infrastructure. The stackhand changed everything about this process. Mounted on a tractor, the stackhand could pick up loose hay directly from the windrow and compress it into massive self-supporting stacks weighing several tons. These weren't bales. These were stacks, enormous piles that could sit right in the field without any shelter. The first model, the Stackhand 60, could create stacks approximately 8 feet wide, 20 feet long, and up to 11 feet tall, all in a single pass through the field. Think about that for a moment. One pass, one operator, and suddenly you had tons of hay stacked and ready, without touching a single bale. For farmers, the implications were profound. No need for thousands of individual bales. No need for expensive barns or covered storage. Dramatically less handling. The hay could be stored in the field, protected from the elements by its own compressed outer layer, and fed directly to livestock using companion equipment. Hesston continued refining the concept with smaller models like the Stackhand 30 and Stackhand 10, offering options for different-sized operations. They developed the Stack Mover, specialized equipment designed to transport those massive stacks wherever they needed to go on the farm. For a period in the 1970s and 1980s, the stackhand became an icon of American agricultural engineering. It represented everything Hesston stood for: innovative thinking, practical design, and machines built to last. The proof of that durability? Decades later, you can still find stackhands working on farms, testament to both the quality of their construction and the enduring value of the concept. But even the strongest companies face forces beyond their control. By the late 1970s, dark clouds were gathering over American agriculture. Interest rates climbed to punishing levels, commodity prices fell, farmers across the country found themselves drowning in debt, struggling just to survive. When farmers hurt, equipment manufacturers hurt, and Hesston was no exception. The equipment market slowed dramatically. Farmers who might have purchased new machinery simply couldn't. They delayed purchases, made do with older equipment, held on by their fingernails, and hoped for better times. In 1976, facing financial pressure and seeking access to international markets, Hesston Manufacturing made a difficult decision. The company sold a controlling interest to Fiat Trattori, the agricultural machinery division of the Italian automaker Fiat. The partnership provided stability and capital, but it marked the end of Hesston's independence as an American company. Still, under Fiat's ownership, Hesston continued to innovate throughout the 1980s. The engineers in Kansas kept working, kept improving. They refined their line of mower conditioners, developed new round balers, and advanced their forage harvesters. Hesston machines remained among the most respected in the industry, known for reliability and that distinctly practical design philosophy that had defined the company from the beginning. But the 1980s brought even greater challenges. The farm crisis, a period of widespread bankruptcies and brutal consolidation in agriculture. Family farms disappeared. Equipment dealerships closed. Manufacturers struggled or went under. It was a dark time for rural America, and everyone in the agricultural sector felt the pain. In 1991, a new chapter began. AGCO Corporation, a relatively young but rapidly growing agricultural equipment company based in Georgia, acquired Hesston. For AGCO, the acquisition was strategic. It gave them a powerful presence in the hay and forage sector, a market segment where Hesston's reputation remained sterling. For Hesston, it meant renewed stability and resources as part of a larger organization. Under AGCO's ownership, Hesston became part of a global family of agricultural brands, including Massey Ferguson, Fendt, and Challenger. But rather than losing its identity, Hesston's Kansas plant remained what it had always been, the heart of hay and forage operations. Throughout the 1990s and into the 2000s, Hesston engineers continued pushing boundaries. They played a crucial role in developing and perfecting the large square baler, which became an industry standard for commercial hay producers worldwide. These weren't the small square bales backyard horse owners might recognize. These were massive bales weighing up to a ton each, precisely formed for maximum density and consistency. The first AGCO Hesston large square balers, introduced in the 1980s and continuously refined under AGCO ownership, set benchmarks that competitors struggled to match. Capacity, bale density, consistency. Hesston machines excelled across all metrics. The Hesston facility itself underwent dramatic modernization. Robotic welding systems replaced manual welders. Laser cutting equipment brought unprecedented precision to parts manufacturing. Automated paint systems ensured consistent, durable finishes. The company embraced advanced manufacturing technologies while maintaining something more valuable than any machine: institutional knowledge and expertise. Even today, walk through the Hesston plant and you'll find something remarkable. Many employees are second or third generation workers. They're not just building hay equipment. They're building equipment they understand intimately because they or their family members use similar machines on their own farms. That connection between product and producer isn't just sentimentalism. It's a competitive advantage. It keeps Hesston's designs grounded in reality, focused on what actually matters in the field. Hesston's impact extends far beyond the borders of its small Kansas hometown. The innovations that emerged from that company shaped the entire hay and forage industry worldwide. The unloading auger Lyle Yost invented in 1947 made grain handling safer and more efficient. And that basic design is still used on combines today. The windrower reshaped modern haymaking, establishing patterns of work that remain standard practice. The stackhand demonstrated entirely new approaches to forage storage and handling, and the large square baler became a global standard used on commercial hay operations from California to Australia. Beyond machinery, Hesston became woven into rural culture. Beginning in 1948, shortly after the company's founding, the town of Hesston began hosting community events centered on agriculture and machinery, traditions that continue today. The Hesston name became synonymous not just with equipment, but with something less tangible and more valuable: craftsmanship, reliability, and pride in American manufacturing. AGCO continues using the Hesston brand on its hay equipment, often co-branded with Massey Ferguson. These machines are sold and serviced around the world: North America, Europe, Australia, South America. Wherever hay is cut and baled commercially, you'll likely find Hesston equipment at work. The brand's commitment to innovation remains strong, supported by decades of accumulated expertise and maintained through direct connections to the farmers who depend on that equipment every single day. The Hesston story offers lessons that reach beyond agriculture, lessons about innovation, resilience, and the enduring value of understanding your customer. First, transformative innovation doesn't always emerge from research laboratories or corporate boardrooms. Often, it comes from necessity, from people like Lyle Yost, who face real problems and decide to build better solutions. The best innovations aren't theoretical, they're practical responses to genuine needs. Second, listening matters more than talking. Hesston's success was rooted in listening to farmers, observing what slowed them down, identifying their pain points, and engineering solutions around those realities. Whether it was unloading grain faster, cutting hay cleaner, or stacking forage more efficiently, Hesston built machines that fit the actual rhythm of farm life, not some idealized version of it. Third, staying local doesn't prevent global success. From a small town in Kansas, Hesston's innovations spread across continents. The name became recognized in agricultural circles worldwide. You don't need to start in Silicon Valley or New York to build something that matters. Big ideas can start anywhere, they just need to solve real problems. Finally, adaptability equals survival. Through ownership changes, economic crises, and dramatic market shifts, Hesston endured because it adapted. The machines evolved, the manufacturing processes modernized, but the core commitment to quality and practical design never wavered. The people stayed focused on what mattered.